Now let's move to next topic, photoelectric effect. And this is an experimental evidence for the existence of photons. And for this he got a Nobel Prize. Albert Einstein explained this photoelectric effect. Now let us see what is that. Here, let me just draw a schematic. One metal rod or metal plate will be used, and which will be connected and made as anode. Then one normal rod will be made as cathode. So this will be positive and this will be negative. Here, this particular metal plate must be electropositive, made up of electropositive metal like sodium or cesium, potassium, like that, and they must be covered by using glass tube. And this area was kept transparent for light to pass through, and rest all areas are not allowed to, are made in such a way that light cannot enter. And voltmeter will be connected in this fashion, or we can put ammeter to check the current. So this is the schematic of opaque region or open area where electromagnetic radiation can enter. So this particular must be electropositive metal rod like potassium, sodium, cesium. These are the examples for that. First, alkali metals, we can say. Now, how it is going to work, we will see now. Here what happens, any electromagnetic radiation, if I made to fall on this, if this particular is energetic enough, then it will hit the surface of electropositive metal, and we know electropositive metals are very easily give out electrons, so less energy needed to remove the electron from them. That's why we use electropositive metal there. So when an electromagnetic radiation, they are energetic enough to eject out the electron, were made to fall on the surface of electropositive metal, then electrons will be ejected out, and this particular phenomena is called as photoelectric effect. And these electrons who ejected out due to this electromagnetic radiation is called as photoelectrons. So effect is called as when a beam of electromagnetic radiation is made to fall on the surface of a metal piece, electropositive metal, electrons are ejected. Electrons are ejected. Electrons are ejected. This phenomena is called as photoelectric effect. Called as photoelectric effect. and these photons or these electrons are called as, and these electrons are called as photoelectrons. So this is the phenomena. So now what all the things we are going to understand here, let's see. So I said electromagnetic radiation must be energetic enough to eject out electron. We know that inside the atom electrons are tightly connected with the nucleus. Now we have to supply energy we have to supply some energy that can break down this force of attraction, so that this electron can eject out or excite out from the atom. So that means enough energy, electromagnetic radiation can only supply it there. What happens if I supply an electromagnetic radiation which is having energy less than that? Then there will not be any observation of photoelectric effect in that system. What if I supply electromagnetic radiation of higher energy, very high energy? Then what happens? Whatever is needed to eject out will be used to eject out the electron, and the excess of energy will be converted into kinetic energy, and that kinetic energy will be present in that ejected electron, and they will travel faster depending on how much kinetic energy they got, how much excess of energy they got. For example, if I say, if two cases where one case where I just supplied an electromagnetic radiation which is having just an energy needed to eject out the electron, and the other case where I've added supplied electromagnetic radiation which is having excess of energy than that is required to eject out electron. In that case, in the later case, that electron will travel faster. In the former case, electron will just will be on the surface of metal plate. Why? Because now it is not having any kinetic energy to travel. So because that was just ejected out by using an electromagnetic radiation which was just having energy needed to remove out the electron, not to travel. So then what is that energy is called as? That energy is called as threshold energy. That is the minimum amount of energy needed to eject out electron. So we have to remember threshold energy, or since they are radiations, if you are talking in terms of wavelength, then they will be called as threshold wavelength. Or if you are saying in terms of frequency, then they will be called as threshold frequency. Is the minimum amount of energy needed to remove an electron from the surface of electropositive plate. So this is the minimum energy. This much energy we have to supply. Now I've told you that if enough energy is not supplied, then photoelectric effect won't be observed. If you supply more than what is needed, then that excess energy will be getting converted into kinetic energy. So if I write the relation according to that, then energy of incident light is equal to energy of threshold. Okay, threshold energy, I keep it as E naught. This is a case when exactly that much energy is supplied, where EI is incident light energy, E naught is threshold energy. Now, as I told you, if I apply excess of energy, then what happens? Then the equation will be like this: incident light energy equal to minimum energy required to that plus kinetic energy. Rest all will become kinetic energy. So this is how we can write energy conservation equation. where whatever incident light supplied energy, that will be distributed as threshold energy plus kinetic energy. Threshold energy is the minimum energy needed to remove out electron from the eject out electron from the surface of the metal piece. So excess energy will be getting converted into kinetic energy. So we know kinetic energy of this photoelectron, they will travel faster. Now E naught can also be written as h nu naught, because we know energy of photon or energy of electromagnetic radiation is equal to h into nu naught. And even for incident light also we can write it as h nu. So I am using nu naught for not for threshold energy and simple h nu for incident light energy. So then h nu is equal to h nu naught plus kinetic energy. Now this particular threshold energy will be different from different electropositive metal. So even if I talk about potassium, sodium, cesium, we know cesium become bigger atom, then the outermost electron will be loosely connected there. So not much energy is needed to remove the electron from the surface. That of sodium, in this order, we know that in the periodic table they are arranged like this: sodium, potassium, and rubidium, and cesium like this. So this is having bigger size, less energy is needed to eject out electron. On the other side, sodium will be having higher energy. So as a result, what happens? This particular threshold energy becomes the characteristic property of electropositive metal. That will change from metal to metal. Which electropositive metal we use, based on that h nu naught or threshold energy will change. So that's why this particular h nu naught is also called as work function. Work function, nothing but that is the property of individual electromagnetic electropositive metal we have taken, represented as psi like this. So we can write this equation: nu is equal to psi plus kinetic energy. Nothing much changed here. So remember that psi stands for work function, and whose value will change from metal to metal. If you are keeping same electropositive metal and you are doing with experiment by changing other factors, then the work function won't change. So work function will remain same, because which is the property or character of electropositive metal. If you are changing electropositive metal, then that work function will change. Apart from that, changing other stuff won't change h nu naught or work function. Now let us study in detail how the various electromagnetic radiations will affect the various phenomena inside the circuit. We have assumed that the photon of infrared, when falls on the surface, it can eject out electron, but that electron will be just on the surface of electropositive metal only, because we assumed that infrared radiation as the threshold energy. That means it can simply eject out the electron, only it is having that much energy, and this electron cannot travel. And we know visible and UV are having higher energy, so that means when photon of visible falls on the surface, it will not only eject out the electron, now electron can now travel with some kinetic energy, because it is having some excess of energy, and that excess energy will now get converted into kinetic energy of electron. So that of UV light will also have the enough energy to eject out electron, and even the electron now travel faster than that of the electron got ejected out due to visible photon. So now here the phenomena is all based on the photon interaction with the electron. Definitely photon of infrared just eject out, and whatever energy present below infrared will not eject out any electron, so that means there will not be any photoelectric effect. So only above infrared radiations will now do this particular effect, and even out of that, how that energy will affect here, just in the case of kinetic energy of photoelectrons. If you use the photon of highest energy, that will just remove the electron from the surface of metal, and that excess energy will be used to travel towards cathode. So that kinetic energy of the electrons depends on energy of the incident light. So that one conclusion we have to remember. Kinetic energy of photoelectron is directly proportional to energy of incident light. So this is very important. When we increase the energy of incident light, that excess energy will be used in the propagation of electron towards cathode. Now, if I use a number of electrons entering the circuit per unit time, we know that number of electrons entering the circuit per unit time will produce current. If no electrons entering the circuit, then there will not be any current, so zero current. So ejection of photoelectrons and entering the circuit will be understood or observed through deflection in the ammeter, that will be telling us current produced in the circuit. So more number of electrons entering the circuit per unit time will increase more current. So that means we can say current flow inside the circuit, directly proportional to number of photons entering the circuit per unit time. Okay, at 1 second, let us say at 1 second how many electrons are entering the circuit will produce the current. If I increase the number of photoelectrons entering the circuit, then it will increase the current also. Now let us deal with how we can increase the number of photoelectrons. Now here I am referring photoelectrons are those electrons got ejected out of the metal surface. We know that increasing the energy of the radiation only changes the kinetic energy of photoelectron. It won't change number of photoelectrons, because number of photoelectrons deals with how many photons are entering the or falling on the surface. If I increase the number of photons falling on the surface, definitely it will increase the number of photoelectrons, because each photon will eject out one electron. So if I increase the number of photons, number of photoelectron also increases. So I can say that number of photons entering the circuit per unit time is directly proportional to number of photons falling on the surface of metal per unit area. So even that matters here, because if you change the area number, if you increase the area, then many photons are needed there. So if I keep area constant and time constant, then on this particular selected area how many photons are falling on that. So based on that I can think of how many photoelectrons are increasing, and that is nothing but intensity. So intensity of electromagnetic radiation is directly proportional to number of photons per unit time per unit area. So this we have studied already in electromagnetic theory, that bright color and light color, that is actually based on intensity, not based on energy, because even red color can also be bright or light or faint. Red color indicates less photons of red color existing there, and dark red color indicates many photons are existing, many photons of red color existing there. So their energy is not getting changed. So red color is having same energy. For example, if I say this much of area and let us say 3 photons of red color existing, and one more situation, same unit area I am taking, but there are many photons of red color existing, then definitely what is changing here is the intensity. So this will appear dark and this will appear light. So that means intensity is changing, not the energy, because this is also red color photon and this is also red color photon. So photon's energy is equal to h into nu. So that means photon's energy is not getting changed here, only the count of photons getting changed. When number of photons getting changed, that means intensity of that particular color is getting changed. So that means almost every visible light, infrared, UV, any radiation if you consider, their intensity can change. That means not energy is getting changed, only the number of photons per unit time per unit area is getting changed. So that means if I increase the intensity of these radiations, then I can expect more number of photoelectrons coming out of the metal surface. That means more electrons entering the circuit per unit time, then there will be more current. So I can conclude here that intensity of light is directly proportional to current flow in the system or in the circuit. So if I want higher current, then there must be more photoelectrons coming out. To make sure that more photoelectrons are coming out, I need to supply enough photons of that qualified energy. So this is the very important conclusion here. Why? Because sometimes question can be asked, does energy of electromagnetic radiation affect the current flow? No. Energy of the radiation won't affect the current flow. Energy of the radiation only affect the kinetic energy of the photoelectron, how fast they are moving. Once that is taken care of, thereafter how many electrons entering the circuit per unit time will matter, okay, initiate the current flow. So you may think like, that means there is no role of energy of incident light in current. At the initial stage, to make sure that these electrons entering the circuit, to make that happen, what we have to do, we have to supply the photons of that qualified energy. Otherwise these electrons won't reach the circuit. If I am applying infrared or the radio wave or microwave, lower energy photons, they won't show photoelectric effect only. That means no electrons are ejecting out. In that case, no electron will enter and there will be no current, definitely. But once I have taken care of that particular requirement, that I have taken care of, I am supplying only that energy which are having enough energy to eject out, even to travel the, even for traveling of that photoelectrons till cathode. Thereafter, energy does not matter. Energy only changes the kinetic energy of the photoelectron, how fast they are moving. Once it is taken care of, then number of electrons enters the circuit. That all depends on intensity of light. So if I plot a graph, let us say intensity of light and current flow. If there is no photons hitting on that, so definitely there will not be any current. So thereafter we can think that as intensity increases, current will also increase. So graph will look like this. So next important conclusion here is the intensity of light is directly proportional to current flow. So we have seen that intensity of light is equal to number of photons are falling on unit surface per unit area. So symbolically we can write I for intensity equal to number of photons I'll keep as n, divide by unit area. For area I'll keep A and for time I'll keep T. So this can be used to calculate the intensity, number of photons upon unit area upon per unit time. If I want to measure energy, intensity of energy of light, then what we can do, I need to multiply energy term here, and energy of each photon is equal to h nu. I just multiply that, then n h nu divided by A into T, where energy of one photon is h nu. There are n photons, then what happens, that many energy per unit area per unit time. So that becomes. Now let us see how voltage will affect the system. Whatever voltage it was there in the beginning won't affect the passage of electricity, nothing like that. But when I reverse the voltage in negative direction, that means these electrons will now come on cathode, and electrons are negatively charged, even photoelectrons are also negatively charged, so there will be some sort of repulsion between photoelectrons and the electrons came on the cathode. So because of this repulsion, maybe some photoelectrons who are having, let us say, some kinetic energy, less kinetic energy, may not overcome that repulsion and cannot enter the circuit. And because of that, what happens, whatever current was there, the moment I reverse the voltage, this current will now start dropping down or decreasing. Because we know that photoelectrons are having various kinetic energy, one which is having highest kinetic energy can overcome this problem, repulsion, and can enter the circuit and thereby show current. But some photoelectrons cannot enter because of the repulsion and thereby current will now drop. So when I increase the negative potential to another extent, now gradually this current will go down, because now little more photoelectrons are now not able to enter the circuit, because I have increased the negative potential, and that will stop few more photoelectrons to enter the circuit. So still further I increase the negative potential till current becomes zero. When current becomes zero, what does that indicate? It indicates that now no photoelectron is entering the circuit. Because of that, current becomes zero, and that particular corresponding voltage is called as stopping voltage or stopping potential. Stopping potential is the potential at which current in the circuit becomes zero, because none of the photoelectrons are now entering the circuit, because even the photoelectron which was having highest kinetic energy also got stopped. So from this we can understand, definitely photoelectrons were having different kinetic energy, but the stopping potential is the place where even highest kinetic energy photoelectron also stopped. So we can assume like this: stopping potential, whatever energy it was having, so that means can be equated with maximum kinetic energy of photoelectron. Why maximum? Why? Because even when we started reversing the voltage, that time also some photoelectrons got stopped, because they were having some kinetic energy, and that kinetic energy cannot be calculated, because there is no particular way to understand how much is that, how many photoelectrons got stopped. But when current became zero, that indicates that even the highest kinetic energy, otherwise photoelectron which was having highest kinetic energy, got also stopped. So at that moment we can understand that the stopping potential also congruent to the maximum kinetic energy of photoelectron. So stopping potential, we can say, that is charge into voltage. I keep voltage as capital letter V like this. Charge into voltage becomes the stopping potential, and this is equal to kinetic energy, maximum kinetic energy of photoelectron, and this is equal to half mv square. So here remember, this is voltage, this V stands for voltage, and this is velocity of photoelectron. So this can be understood here. So for third conclusion, you have to remember stopping potential. Stopping potential is the potential difference or voltage when current in the circuit became zero. Current in the circuit dropped to zero. So this can be said. And one more is this stopping voltage, that is charge of electron, that is E, into voltage is equal to kinetic energy of maximum kinetic energy of photoelectron, and this is equal to half mv square. So now, how this stopping potential connected with the incident light? We know that when I increase the energy of incident light, that will be reflected in the kinetic energy. When I increase, let us say, X-ray, higher energy, okay, gamma ray radiations. So what they have the photons of higher energy. So they will also eject out the electron, but the electrons get ejected out will be having the highest kinetic energy because they are having higher energy. So that means when I increase the energy of incident light, that will also increase the stopping potential, because in this case, maybe when potential was reversed, that times initially the photoelectrons ejected due to visible light might have got stopped, but the photoelectrons ejected out due to UV light might have entered the circuit because they were having enough kinetic energy. But now I am saying even X-ray, gamma ray or radiations also allowed to pass on that, and now they will also eject out the electrons, but that ejected electrons will be having higher kinetic energy, and if they are having higher kinetic energy, maybe earlier stopping potential is not enough to stop them. So now I need to reverse to another extent so that even that radiations also stop. So that means I can say that stopping potential is directly proportional to energy of incident light. Stopping potential is directly proportional to energy of incident light. When I increase the incident light energy, because incident light, energy of incident light affects the kinetic energy of photoelectron, and highest kinetic energy will be dealing with highest stopping potential. So if I see this particular thing on a graph, let us say this is voltage and this is current. So there may be some initial, I told you, maybe some voltage, let us say 2 volt, and there was some current, like this is the point where 2 voltage and some particular ammeter and some ampere was there, let us say 10 ampere value was there, so this was the point. When I started reversing the voltage, that means I am going in the negative direction, opposite direction. When I started doing that, so that time what happens, current is going to drop down, so maybe let's say here, and gradually it is going down, and at one point, at some particular voltage, that current becomes 0. So I will consider this as the point where current became 0, and that is in negative direction, so this is called as stopping voltage or stopping potential, where current became 0. If I see that graph, that will be like this. So remember, if I am doing this in positive direction, it is not going to affect the current. Why? Because current mainly depending on intensity of the light, it is not depending on the kinetic energy. So that's why voltage, this voltage won't affect the passage of electricity if it is in positive direction, so that will remain same. I keep it as current like this. Now if I, let us say, doing one more graph where initially some 2 voltage was there, that time current was like this. Definitely I am talking about that current where, let us say, this is I1 and this is I2. So this is the point at 2 voltage and this is the point at 2 voltage, indicates that definitely the corresponding, when the current is different, that means this is higher current and this is lower current. Definitely here what is changing is the intensity. At same voltage, two different current showing, it means that intensity of the light has changed. So even if I increase or decrease the intensity of the light, definitely current will change over here, but when I decrease the voltage or take that in the reverse direction, they will be stopped at same location, because this intensity is not going to affect the kinetic energy of the photoelectron. So as long as they are not affecting the kinetic energy of the photoelectron, so they don't have any effect on stopping potential also, because stopping potential directly connected to the incident light energy, and incident light energy has nothing to do with the intensity. So maybe at particular voltage there may be different there may be different current that is purely based on intensity of the light, but intensity of the light does not depend on kinetic energy of the electron, neither depend on energy of incident light. So that's the reason why even if you are changing the intensity, it is not going to change the stopping potential. Stopping potential will be changed only when if you change the energy of incident light. So any number of time, if you change the intensity, you may have varying current in the circuit. But if I start reversing that particular voltage, it will reach at the same location. So that means changing intensity won't change the stopping potential. Only changing energy of incident light will change the stopping potential, but because changing incident light energy of incident light will change the kinetic energy of photoelectron, and that changing the kinetic energy of change in the kinetic energy of photoelectron will change the stopping potential. So here one more point we have to remember, that intensity of light does not change the stopping potential. So this you can easily understand, because intensity of the radiation depending on number of photons. So this number of photons definitely eject out more electrons, but they won't change the kinetic energy of photoelectron. As long as they are not changing the kinetic energy of photoelectrons, they won't change the stopping potential, because kinetic energy. Now let us work on incident light energy and intensity and stopping potential, all three together. Think of a situation, now forget about infrared, because that is not only that will eject out the electron, but that will not make sure electron is traveling and reaching this place. So let's not talk about infrared. If I'm talking about, let us say, visible light now, and I'm not applying any other radiation, only I'm applying visible light, and infrared of no use now. Now what happens if I understand through the graph? Visible light photon hits the surface and eject out the electron, and that electrons are now traveling. Definitely, since now only visible light is present, then all that electrons are having same kinetic energy and they are reaching the circuit. And since all of them reaching out same time, number of electrons entering the circuit becomes constant, and let us say at 2 voltage it is showing some current, this corresponding current, like let us say 10 ampere. Now since all photoelectrons are having same kinetic energy, because only they got ejected due to visible light photons, now if I reverse this voltage, then what happens? Let us say this is voltage, now I'm reversing, so this current will become 0 at point, and that particular is called as stopping potential. So now let us change the incident light to UV, and UV radiation now hitting the surface, they are ejecting the photoelectrons. Whatever intensity I kept for visible, same intensity I kept for UV also, and this UV radiation hitting and they are ejecting out the electrons, and these electrons entering the circuit. Again, number of electrons entering the circuit will remain same. Why? Because same number of photons got ejected, same number of photons got hit the surface and ejecting out same number of electrons, and that all photons are having higher kinetic energy, but all are having same kinetic energy. Maybe kinetic energy wise they are having higher kinetic energy as compared to the visible light irradiation, but all of them are having same, so all of them will enter the circuit at same time. So thereby current will now remain same, though I have changed the incident light to a higher energy, current won't change. Now they have entered the circuit. Now if I reverse the voltage, definitely they were having higher kinetic energy as compared to earlier case. So that means we have to now go to new stopping potential, that means further lower one, so that we can stop them now. So this one will have stopping potential something different. So let us say this is visible light and this is UV. So it will be having different stopping potential, though they were having same current. Why? Because this current mainly depending on how many photoelectrons entering the circuit. So if I keep incident intensity of light same, so same number of photoelectrons are ejecting out, though they were having different kinetic energy, but same number of photons will be ejected out and they will be entering at same time, so thereby current will become same. But UV light photoelectrons were having higher energy. They made sure that further lower stopping potential is needed to stop them, because kinetic energy wise they have different kinetic energy. So here we can understand, by keeping current same, that means by keeping intensity same, you may have different potential energies, you may have different stopping potentials. It is based on incident light. So from this only we understood that stopping potential is directly proportional to energy of incident light. So when we increase the energy of incident light, so kinetic energy will increase, and that will make sure that stopping potential must be lower now further to make current zero in the system. So this particular current, so here without changing the intensity, if I change the energy incident light, and then I need to change the stopping potential, and this particular current is called as saturated current. Saturated current, that means this is the maximum current can be obtained at that particular intensity. If I don't change the intensity, this current won't change, though I change the incident light. So even if I'm changing the incident light, this current won't change as long as if I'm keeping intensity same. So this is called as saturated current. Saturated current is the maximum current attainable at given intensity of light. So one more graph you can remember here, that is between, let us say, frequency or energy for that matter, energy of incident light with kinetic energy of photoelectrons. Now we know that if I use infrared, then infrared must be having some energy that won't eject out electron, that won't make kinetic that electrons to have kinetic energy. Then I need to reach till, let us say, visible light, and visible light radiation only start ejecting out the electron, I mean to have some kinetic energy, so that they can now have non-zero kinetic energy. So now if I increase the energy, definitely kinetic energy will also increases. So this graph you have to remember, it is not from the origin, because the moment if you increase the energy, that time there will not be any kinetic energy of a photon, because there must be some minimum threshold energy must be supplied. So below which you cannot expect any kinetic energy, or you cannot expect even the ejection of electron. Forget about having some kinetic energy. There will not be any ejection of electron first of all. Only after some limit only you can expect some. So this is another graph. So here if you use frequency, then this will be. So these many points you have to remember. Energy of incident light is directly proportional to the kinetic energy of photoelectron. Intensity of the light is directly proportional to the current flow in the circuit. Stopping potential is the voltage when current in the circuit drop to zero. So stopping voltage is charge into voltage is equal to kinetic energy of maximum kinetic energy of photoelectron. That is equal to half mv square, where v is velocity. So stopping potential is directly proportional to energy of incident light, and intensity of light does not change the stopping potential. Saturated current is the maximum current can be attained at given intensity of light. So the formulas that you have to remember, one is that energy of incident light is equal to energy of threshold energy plus kinetic energy, where this can be written as h nu is equal to h nu naught plus kinetic energy can be written as psi, means work function. Oh, I'm sorry. So this is kinetic energy maximum, where h nu naught or E naught can be said as work function, because that is the property of electropositive metal. So h nu is equal to psi plus kinetic energy maximum. Why we have to remember this? Because sometimes question can be asked what is the work function of that particular electropositive metal. Then you have to remember what is that work function in the system. In this equation, work function nothing but h nu naught, or energy, threshold energy. Other than that, kinetic energy can be replaced with half mv square. So then h nu is equal to h nu naught plus half mv square can be used instead of kinetic energy. Or instead of kinetic energy, we can also use h nu equal to h nu naught plus charge into voltage. Charge into voltage. This can also be used because we know kinetic energy is equal to charge into voltage. And other than this,